No.
Hello, guru philosophers.
Philosophers. We're the gurus, and we're back at it again with yet another episode of the gurus. Today, we're going to be talking philosophy. This is episode 140, the big one.
My name is Wesley. I'm with my co-host Aryan today. We're on Zoom because we have officially left the dorms. We have left the dorms. We are upgrading to the virtual. So today we're going to be talking about two prominent philosophers, the creator of existentialism and uh, the other guy, Nietzsche, who talks about different ideas of God and whatnot. So let's just start with Soren Kierkegaard and existentialism. My question to you today, first question, have you ever struggled with self-doubt or self-knowledge, and what helped you overcome these struggles in your life?
Huh. Started starting strong, huh?
Starting strong.
Self-doubt and self-knowledge.
Yeah, this the search for self-knowledge and struggling with self-doubt.
I see. I mean, I guess I have at some point, like there are times where you're just like not that confident in yourself and like a situation that's coming up and you're just like dreading it happening because you're just like kind of like scared of what's gonna happen.
Hmm.
But I guess for me, the best way is just like not to think about it too much. Like I just kind of like when that happens, I just like turn off my brain.
Turn off your brain?
Yeah, I just like I go on autopilot. I let I just like let whatever I know in that situation just take over.
So you've never had like a time where you've struggled with something and you've had to overcome it through not just being on autopilot? Like have you ever had a time where you had to take it head on or something? Because Kierkegaard's main thing was existentialism, right? And he struggled with depression. His whole family struggled with depression, and he wanted to find a way to overcome it, and he was trying to search for the truth. So he wanted to, or he realized that we need to come to truth like on our own, and we have to be our own psychotherapists. So like, what's a way that you've overcome like your own psychological issues, sort of thing?
I mean, I'm trying to think of like an example and put that in words. Not, I feel like it's just like more of like a like it is what it is kind of attitude, you know? Like just just deal with it. It's not that deep.
Just
I
deal with it.
yeah. That's the way I go about it. And I haven't been doing too bad. But what about you? I maybe I'm blanking and it's hard to think of something. Well, talk to me about
Well,
you. Maybe once.
I can kind of see where you're talking about with autopilot, but I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think for me, if I want to get my mind off something, I'll have to go and do something that I know is gonna help me overcome that struggle by avoiding it in the first place, but then also taking on more pain. So, for example, if I'm mad about something, this might be a classic example, but if I'm mad about a problem with a girl, all right, I will, I don't know if this is the best way to go about it, but I will avoid it for a little bit and I'll go and do something that requires me to go through some sort of pain, like go to the gym or do something I don't want to do, homework or whatever. Distract myself while adding more pain, and then at the end, I'll be able to deal with it better because I think I'll have a more of a clear mind because I won't be thinking about it in the first place. And because I already suffered a little bit more, it just allows me to like I guess take a step back and reflect easier because I've had multiple sources of pain. So then I'm not like biased towards that one pain in the first place. I don't know if that sort of makes sense with. Just I guess distracting myself in the first place.
I I see where you're coming from, but yeah, I mean, makes sense. I think each person has to find their own way of dealing with this stuff. It's not like a kind of a one size fits all for
Yeah,
it.
but it's just like a what works for you. Like, well, I'm asking you what works for you. And
Yeah, and I don't know what works for me is just yeah, take your mind. I guess like it depends on the situation, right? When you say like what's a moment you've like encountered self-doubt, like it could be like I guess for me it could be like a presentation, giving a presentation, or I don't know, just like I feel like physically doing something that's like it'll come up to me and then I'll be like that's how I can go on autopilot. But then I guess if it becomes more of a self-doubt, like why do I exist, you can't really go on autopilot with that.
hmm
But there's also some questions where it's just like I don't know. Next question, next question. This one was hard, this one was hard.
Okay. Um. So Kierkegaard also talks about the role of despair in our lives. So
Roll of wood.
despair.
Okay.
He says it is precisely the task of human apprehension to understand that there is something it cannot understand, and also what that something is. Human apprehension generally is very busy trying to understand more and more. But if at the same time it would take pains to understand it itself, it simply has to establish the paradox. So he's talking about how as humans, we can't understand everything, but we always try to understand everything. And this is a paradox because but it's an important paradox to humans. So he's kind of just saying, um, I think he relates it back to we need to have more despair in our lives. What do you think about this?
More despair in our lives,
hmm
like just like more hardship, or like
Yeah, I think more hardships.
I mean I agree, I would agree with that. Just because I feel like for whatever reason is we are we're programmed to be satisfied when we like if we work for something, we're more satisfied with that, or we get more dopamine off of that,
hmm
rather than just like something that is given to us.
hmm
At least I'm like that, and I know quite a few people like that. I don't want to say everyone's like that, but I would say a lot of people I know are like that, where they just like to be to feel good about something, they have to work for it,
hmm
and I don't know why that is. That's like a like it's kind of
Do you
I
feel that way?
I would think no no when yes I don't like when things are just like handed to me, and like there are scenarios where that happens and it still happens, but still like for the majority part I would say like working for something gives me more joy than I guess not working for it and still getting it. And I feel like that's kind of it doesn't seem intuitive to me like about that doesn't seem intuitive, where we enjoy working for something rather than just having it, you know
But
kind
a
of like
lot
the
of
whole like
people, but a lot of people just have it. So do you think that's a problem that they have everything?
well no. You're thinking of like physical material items. I'm just thinking in general, just like maybe like oh achieving like becoming strong or achieving a good physique. That's like you can't just have that, you have to work for it.
hmm
It's like I'm more thinking I'm more what interests me is that how it doesn't this doesn't seem intuitive to me, how we have to like we like to work for something rather than just having it. That doesn't seem like an intuitive human thing for me. I
hmm
feel like I feel like it would be easier if you just were content with like with like I it's always about the journey, not the destination.
hmm
for any like even material stuff. It's not like about like I don't know. Let's say you really want this like the new iPhone that's coming out. Okay,
Hmm.
honestly, it's not about the having the actual iPhone. Like maybe that will give you joy for like a week,
Hmm.
right? But then it'll become normal. It's
Hmm.
about like maybe I'm working towards it, putting money aside for like the past 6 months to get that iPhone.
Hmm.
I think that's more of a that like actively doing that and then buying the iPhone. I think will bring you more joy than just like I don't know if you found an iPhone off the streets, like
Hmm.
on the ground. And I don't know why that is, but it does make sense to me when he says there should be more despair in our lives.
No,
Just more.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I think pushing yourself to certain limits is important, or else we wouldn't be humans. We wouldn't progress in our society, wouldn't progress in our own lives. Um, so the more despair that we have, it's the more good that comes out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche. So he has some ideas, and he talks about the concept of God's death, and he talks about um, the influence of words. So let's start with that actually. Have you ever questioned the power of words and the stories we tell ourselves and to others?
Yeah. 100%.
Like what role does language play in like shaping our reality or other people's realities, in your opinion?
A lot. And I mean, it really depends on the specific scenario. But right now, when you tell me about that, maybe it's just because I like read something about it recently. But like, you know, like saying positive stuff to yourself,
Hmm.
just like I guess like manifesting or like having a placebo effect on yourself. I think that's very real.
Hmm.
Just like saying it out loud so you can hear it too. Like as corny as it sounds, and I feel like so many people say it, but it's just like it helps. Like saying, "Oh, I can do this,"
Hmm.
or like I got this. Just like those few words, I feel like do I don't know unbelievable stuff way more than you think for just like I don't know that power of words.
Hmm.
I think it's very strong. Or having someone else, maybe sometimes having someone else say that to you, like you got this.
Hmm.
It helps way more than you think. So words, I would say, are very, very powerful tools that we have at our disposal.
Yeah, I feel like we a lot of the times that you have to a lot of people say what they don't mean and then mean what they don't say. Let me explain. Let me explain. Let me explain. Let me explain. Let
No,
me explain.
I totally know what you mean. It's just so funny the way you said
But a lot of
it.
people say stuff that they don't actually mean, right? And I'm sure we've experienced this before, right? But they'll say something mean to somebody and they'll interpret it as something funny. Like they think that it's gonna be funny, but it's mean, and then they don't understand the power of those specific words that affects that how it affects the other person, and then the other person could really take that to heart, you know?
And
And
maybe
I think
the other person should just line up. But yeah, no, yeah,
maybe they should line up, but at the same time, we I think we underestimate the power that the words we say hold at
exactly.
times. And I think especially now with the internet being such a prevalent thing in our lives, it's easy to say what we don't mean because because you can't really get it traced back to you a lot of the time. Obviously you can because it's your account, but if somebody across the world doesn't agree with what you say, they're not going to come to your house, across the world just to, confront you about your words. So I think that's a problem with why we say a lot of the things that we don't mean. You know what I mean?
But could you give me some examples of things that you don't say but mean?
You don't say, but
You
I,
said we
I
say a
just,
lot of things we don't mean, and we don't say a lot of things we mean.
yeah, okay. I think it's tough to give somebody, it's easy to give somebody like a negative comment but then when you want to give people compliments, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, because for some
Even,
reason, our
okay.
like human minds just like they feel uncomfortable like giving like maybe even saying the word I love you to someone, just like being at that like unsure stage of okay, whether like they're gonna either like reciprocate that feeling or just like in general how they're gonna take it.
Mhm.
It's such a hard thing for us to say that rather than just saying I hate, you
I know
know?
it's so much easier for that's exactly what I mean. So a lot of the times when you're with somebody and you actually like them, you might not say you won't say it even though you know it's true. Like you want to say something like that, you want to say something nice, but at the same time you're gonna be called out as soft or something. I think it's just like the societal norms and we have kind of pushed it away from what is acceptable to say and it's like tough to be soft nowadays, you know?
I agree.
Okay,
Well,
moving
being soft is a new tough, bro. I feel like
being
it's
soft is the new tough.
yeah,
Quote. I think you need to post that online.
I got you. We'll write that for the website.
All right, all right. Let's add or you still gotta let me on that website. Okay. Let's move on to have you ever experienced a moment of existential crisis or loss of faith in traditional forms of authority or belief systems?
I wouldn't say loss of faith in where I haven't. This also might be because I'm not religious, but there hasn't been like a situation where my core beliefs and like the way I look at life has been challenged like that. I feel like
But
actually, I mean, what were you gonna say?
well, if your core beliefs aren't religious, man, I guess they come from your parents, but what makes it so that somebody has different differentiating beliefs than what is already in society? Because we don't know anything more if you, especially if you're not religious, right? There's not really any other ideologies that you will follow other than the society that you already live in. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, for me, I would say my core beliefs are just so simple that it's hard to be challenged just because like I don't know
Like
what
what?
be be kind, be thoughtful, say nice things, do good things. Like that's just like I feel like it's hard to challenge those core beliefs. Do you understand
But
what I'm saying? But maybe I'm thinking of getting challenged in a wrong way. Like I'm thinking right now, what by challenging me, like okay, I don't know, I believe in God, and then something comes up, or like someone tells me something, and I'm like, oh, maybe God, maybe my belief isn't so strong. That's the way I'm thinking about being challenged about my beliefs.
mm, okay, what about traditional forms of like authority?
What do you mean by that? What about?
Have you ever challenged the forms of authority? Like thought about thought about what other alternatives there are to maybe a government, something like that.
Oh, I guess so. And like maybe like in schools and stuff, when I see a teacher or like a principal, I'm like, this guy doesn't even know anything. Like, what does he know more than me to be running in this school or having authority? When obviously they do something that some people honestly should not be in a position of authority.
Hmm.
That's like, yeah, I do think about times where, if you think about it like that, where people are in authority and they shouldn't be, you know, like honestly, the town council we have right now,
Hmm.
dude, all those people on our town councils are like jobless people who I don't know much about them, but they don't seem like the type that should be in authority.
But
But
but is there
that's more
anything that we can do about it?
not at this stage. Maybe when you get rich and powerful, you can do something about it, but not right now. I wouldn't say
So does that mean us the people have no power?
we have power if we just going back to this. We have power if you just use it right, bro. if y'all unite behind a common goal, which is hard, but there is power. Because I do think we also like some people just a lot of people just don't care about the like who's on the council. Like some people vote, right? I think it's a voting system. I don't even know how you become on the town council here, bro. But I would say like a lot of people just don't care because like it's not their job. But then like, oh, there comes a time where they have to like I don't know build a house or renovate something.
Mhm,
Then they're like, who put these people in charge when they
mhm.
in the first place they didn't care. But this is like going way off track.
Okay, what about existential crises? Have you ever faced one? No?
I'm sure I have.
Okay, how do you navigate that?
I
I'll give an example. I don't know if this is an existential crisis or not, but a lot of the times, not a lot of the times, occasionally it'll hit me for maybe 20, 50, like maybe a couple minutes, right? And I'll
Mhm,
think about how there's people, it's always, I feel like it's always a comparison thing for me. I'll look at other people, I'll be like, I'm not doing enough. And then I'll go into a sulking period where there's a point where can I really do this? Will I really be what I want to be? Right? And then
mhm.
navigating it, it just kind of comes to me after, and I'm just thinking, there's nothing I can do about it. I just got to do the best I can, and then I'll get through. Like, and then I just think about self-reassurance, back to how language plays a role, like saying good things, and then eventually I'll lead myself out of it, or I'll distract myself enough where I'll get back to my normal state. What about
Well,
you?
what I would say for those kinds of scenarios is, I mean, yeah, that usually with what you said, I feel like it's just like a matter of time goes by and you're like, okay, back to reality. But I would say like when like an actual existential like crisis or something like that. Well, not saying that
Whoa,
yours like,
bro.
but I'll say like a
Whoa,
really
bro.
no. What I'm saying like a really deep one. It's like why do we exist? Like that kind of thing. Like why do we? Yeah, why do we exist? Um, I would just say like for me, I would read some books or like I would read about how like other people do it or like the different kinds of philosophy there is, right? Someone obviously there's been like philosophy's been a thing for so long now. People like just pondering about like why the existence of humans. You just and they have some of them are way more qualified or like they've thought about this way longer than you have been alive. So I don't know. When I read about those, it's just like it also takes my mind off it, but also provides me like, okay, this guy, this is how he looks at life. This is how he deals with that. You know, he just this is how he thinks. So it's like amusing and sometimes helpful, but that's what I would say.
I see. Well, I think that's all the topics for today. Um, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.